My name is Lena. I'm 22 and I live in San Diego. If you've ever had someone close to you exploit your pain for their own gain and no one believed you, then maybe, just maybe, you'll understand what I'm about to say. I'm not telling this story to complain. I'm telling it to reclaim my voice. Clara is my sister. She's 5 years older than me. Ever since we were kids, she's been the kind of person who turned heads vibrant, talkative, always the center of attention. I was the quiet one, introverted. And after our parents died in a car crash 3 years ago, I shrank even further into myself. We shared an old house in North Park, not far from the bustling night market, but most days, I never left my room. This past year was a downward spiral. I lost my job, fell into depression, barely slept. Clara was the only one who took care of me, or at least, that's what I thought. She cooked for me, left sticky notes on the bathroom mirror that said things like, "Keep going. You've got this." I trusted her. I was grateful. Until one morning, I got a message from Kylie, an old friend from UCSD. "You okay, Lena?" This video's kinda weird. I tapped the link. It was a TikTok, dim lighting, a girl curled up on the edge of a bed, hair messy, eyes hollow. It was me. Clara had posted it with the caption, "This is my sister." She hasn't gotten out of bed in 3 weeks, but today... She smiled. My chest tightened like someone had their hand around my throat. That night, the one in the video was my worst panic attack to date. I remembered Clara holding me, wiping sweat from my forehead, whispering, "It's okay, I'm here." But the whole time, a phone was recording, in the dark, without my consent. The video had almost 600,000 views. I read the comments, stunned, so powerful. "I wish everyone had a sister like her. Clara should start a mental health podcast." I didn't know whether to cry or throw up when I stormed out of my room, still shaking with rage and disbelief. Clara was on the couch with her iPad color, grading her next upload. "You posted that on TikTok?" I asked, trying not to scream. She looked up, unbothered. "Yeah, what did you think people really connected with it?" "You didn't ask me. That was private. I didn't give you permission." "Lena," she said, smiling softly, like she was talking about the weather. "You don't get it. A viral video could change everything for me. People need real stories." That hit me like ice water to the chest. Clara had always said she wanted to leave her boring office job, that she dreamed of becoming a full-time influencer. But I never imagined she'd use me, her broken, unraveling little sister, as her stepping stone. I reported the video immediately. 4 hours later, TikTok replied with a generic email. "This content does not violate community guidelines." I tried again, this time with more detail. I even submitted a support ticket on their site. Nothing changed. Clara, meanwhile, got invited to a local podcast in Little Italy. I listened in horror as she said, "I didn't post it for attention. I just want to remind people that there's always light at the end of the tunnel." My stomach twisted. I ran to the bathroom and actually threw up. Not from sadness, from disgust. I stopped going outside altogether. In San Diego, where people obsess over aesthetic brunches in La Jolla and yoga selfies at Mission Bay, I became the opposite of what anyone wants to see. The silent victim rewritten into a fictional hero's backstory by a so-called content creator. And yet, the worst part hadn't even happened. One night, Clara left for a local beauty brand's launch party. I heard her laughing on FaceTime through the door, loud and carefree. Something inside me snapped, half dread, half instinct. I stepped into her room. Her laptop was open, no password. Clara always believed I'd never dare touch her things. I didn't plan to snoop. But then I saw a folder, Healing Series raw footage. I clicked. There were around 20 video files. Clips of me sleeping, drenched in sweat, a cold towel on my forehead. One with somber background music. Another where she'd tweaked the lighting to emphasize my trembling. One test caption read, "When your sister forgets her meds, but you never leave her side." I stood frozen, then crumbled into tears, like a child realizing someone had stolen the last safe thing they had left. My name is Lena, and maybe I was a victim once, but I swear I will never be anyone's content again. Not even my sister's. After that night, I was no longer the timid girl hiding in my sister's shadow. But the change in me wasn't fully formed, yet it felt more like a low-grade fever, quietly burning under my skin, waiting to be named. All I knew was, the next morning, when Clara walked into the kitchen, beaming and babbling about how a famous beauty TikToker had tagged her, I looked at her with different eyes. "That video hit over 1 million views," she said, like she'd just won a science fair. I didn't answer, I just watched. She had no idea I had seen everything in the Healing Series a bigger raw footage folder. Not a single clip had been spontaneous. Every frame was carefully planned lighting, angle, even my expressions. Clara didn't want to help me heal. She wanted to capture my lowest moments and repackage them as a moving narrative she could monetize. Meanwhile, I who had actually lived those moments was left to carry the shame, splashed across the internet. I tried taking the video down again. Nothing changed. Instead, I started getting DMs from strangers. "Stay on strong, warrior girl. Would love to interview you for my mental health docuseries." One middle-aged man even messaged, "I have a daughter like you. Could we meet?" I threw my phone on the bed. The feeling of being violated wasn't just coming from Clara anymore. It was swelling into something bigger, something faceless. The internet was consuming me like a tidal wave. Kylie, the friend who'd first sent me the video, messaged again, "I thought you agreed to do that with her." I replied, "No, I never gave her permission. She did it all behind my back." Minutes later, Kylie sent another message. "She told me you knew, that you even thanked her." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Clara hadn't just filmed me without consent. She had built an entire fiction around it. A story of mutual love, of sisterly strength, of a brave little sister rising through the pain. Then came the memes. Some male TikToker parodied Clara's video, pretending to be me, slumped in a corner, while a sister gently placed a hand on his forehead. Cue the dramatic music and slow motion. On-screen text so moving. She nearly died from sadness. In the comments, Clara should direct the next Netflix doc. She deserves an Oscar for best use of sibling trauma. I didn't want to disappear because they were mocking me. I wanted to disappear because they had no idea those tears were real. They didn't know I had once come this close to ending everything. And the only person I clung to in that moment, the one who held my hand, had used that hand to turn me into content. Of course, Clara didn't stop. She appeared on a YouTube channel that interviews inspirational figures, sitting in a softly lit studio, wearing a pastel silk dress, her voice barely louder than a sigh. My sister is so brave. She's the reason I keep pushing forward. We're a team she'd never asked how I wanted to be represented. Never asked if I was okay with people knowing I was on antidepressants. The scariest part wasn't being filmed, it was being rewritten. My life, my story, my pain, all rewritten by someone else, then broadcast, then celebrated as the perfect healing journey. And I had no say, no edit rights, no stop button. Even scarier Clara didn't think she'd done anything wrong. To her, this was just part of the creative process. Over dinner, she casually mentioned that a pharmaceutical brand was interested in a partnership, wanted her to be the face of their mental health, real talk campaign. I stared at my plate. The cheese on my pasta had gone cold, clumped into sticky strings. My sister was building her personal brand on the nights I nearly killed myself. After dinner, I went into my room, locked the door, pulled the curtains. I replayed the video Clara had posted. I stared long and hard into those eyes on the screen, bloodshot, hollow, drained of fight. I used to be that girl, and I knew she wasn't there anymore. I opened my laptop. For the first time in nearly a year, I launched the video editing software I'd learned in freshman media class. I started a new project. I named it My Truth, Not Hers. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't let someone else keep telling my story wrong. This time, I would tell it myself. No cuts, no filters, no script. Just me, Lena. Finally speaking the truth, I lived. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of panic attacks, but because, for the first time in months, I felt awake, raw, aching, but clear. I replayed Clara's video again. This time, not to feel hurt, but to study it. I analyzed every frame, every word, every calculated beam of light filtering through the blinds. The soft piano track in the background, like something out of a cheap indie drama. Nothing about it was accidental. Every second was staged. I no longer had any doubt. At 3 a.m., I started watching the behind-the-scenes clips I'd found on Clara's computer. In one video, she stood in front of her mirror, filming herself with the front camera, grinning. This is new footage. Hope it's raw enough to make the For You page. Maybe I'll use a caption like, "A sister's love is the best medicine." Kinda cheesy, but it's trending. I shut the video off, sat there, numb. Later, I dug through old messages. Last year, right after I lost my job at the bookstore, Clara had sent me a voice memo. Lena, don't let the sadness consume you. I believe in you, but also don't forget your pain, if told the right way, could help so many people. Back then, it comforted me. Now it chilled me to the bone. This wasn't about helping others. This was about framing my pain in a way that helped her. And those are two very different things. The next morning, I turned to Reddit. I scrolled through subs like R Digitalibus, R Consent is Not Optional, R Family Drama. I read hundreds of stories, people whose boyfriends secretly filmed them crying as a memory, kids whose moms turned their journals into viral blog posts. I realized I wasn't alone. Clara wasn't just a bad sister. She was part of a growing, deeply unsettling breed of people, empathy influencers, the kind who mine other people's trauma, often their own family for likes, brand deals, and inspirational hashtags. I opened TikTok again. Not my main account, it was flooded with Clara's followers, asking for more healing updates. I made a new anonymous account, Hebito Pixel Ghost 22. I didn't know where to start. All I knew was I needed to speak. This time, the truth. My first video was simple. A dark room, no music, no effects, just one line scrolling across the screen. Have you ever been the character in someone else's video when your story gets told wrong? What's left of you? Then a low, synthetic voice generated with an AI voice tool. My story isn't inspirational. It's just a story, and I want to tell it in my own way. It didn't go viral, at least not yet, but it got over 200 likes. More importantly, 4 comments. Each one was a real story. My mom posted a picture of me crying and called it her motherhood journey. I was 15. I get it. My best friend filmed me during a PTSD episode. Now she's got 50K followers. You're not crazy. They are thinking pain is content. I read each one, my heart tightening, then softening. For the first time, I didn't feel like the crazy one, or the weak one, or the healing little sister. I was just someone real, in a quiet network of other real people, all being manipulated by self-proclaimed family storytellers. I started editing more counter videos. I didn't mention Clara by name. I just recreated her scenes, same compositions, same captions, but overlaid them with the truth. Scene 1. Me, head bowed in a dark room, hands trembling. Original caption. She forgot her meds for 3 days, but I stayed because sisterhood matters. Overlay. She hid my medication. Scene 2. Me, unconscious, Clara brushing my hair gently. Overlay filmed 4 times to soften the light. I never agreed to be filmed. Scene 3. Me staring out the window. Her original caption, the first light of hope. Overlay, I was thinking about ending it. The video hit 10,000 views in 3 days. I didn't reply to anyone. I left only one hashtag, "We go let us speak for ourselves." I knew Clara had seen it. A former friend sent me a screenshot. Clara had shared my video in a private group chat, claiming some jealous troll was trying to smear her healing journey. Smear, no. I was just reclaiming the narrative. That night, I got an anonymous message. Careful. People love your sister. They won't like anyone tarnishing that image. I wasn't scared. I had already lived through nights in a dark room, without food, without sleep, without the will to keep going. No video could break me more than I'd already been broken. Because this time, I wasn't telling my story to inspire anyone. I was telling it so it couldn't be erased. I wasn't telling my story to inspire anyone. I was telling it to preserve the truth. 3 days after my 3rd video, a pixel ghost started getting noticed, not because I posted anything dramatic or begged for sympathy, but because I struck a nerve, a quiet fear that lives inside so many people. What if I become content? The DMs poured in, messages from strangers who'd been filmed by their parents while crying over homework for the memories. People whose so-called best friends posted sad photos of them on Instagram with captions like, "Because I care too much." And in every message, I saw a reflection of myself. I wasn't alone anymore. I read every message, but I didn't respond. Not yet. I wasn't ready to show my face. I wanted Clara to see what I was doing and feel that cold dread of not knowing whether it was me. That uncertainty gave me a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. Clara's account was still active, but things were shifting. Mixed into the usual praise, new comments started to appear. This reminds me of how my friend's sister exploited her for content. Something feels off. Who filmed this? Did the younger sister consent? This scene looks exactly like a video a pixel ghost just posted. Clara was getting nervous. I knew because one night I overheard her on the phone through the thin wooden wall that separated our rooms in the old house our parents left behind. She was whispering, but I could still hear her clearly. "No, I'm sure it's not her. Lena's not smart enough. Yeah, she's too weak. And even if it is her, who's gonna believe her? I smirked. She still thought I was that girl sobbing in the corner, begging anyone to believe me. She didn't know I'd changed. That night, I decided to speed things up. I created a new video. Unlike the first 3, this one was a full reverse reaction, a frame-by-frame breakdown of her most viral clip. The one she labeled Spiritual Rebirth. I sliced the footage apart, matched every tearful line. She spoke with raw, behind-the-scenes clips I'd found like her saying. She smiled. This is the golden moment while turning away, oblivious to the fact I was actually sobbing in that scene. I titled it The Truth Behind the Glow. The caption read, "Do you still believe in healing videos, or are you just consuming someone else's pain?" No hashtags, no self-promo, but it caught fire fast. Within 24 hours, it had over 70,000 views. A media ethics TikToker stitched my video, saying we're in a crisis of digital morality. When compassion is replaced by engagement, this is what happens. The hashtag healing hoax emerged. Within a night, it hit TikTok's top 10 US trends. Clara was getting tagged relentlessly. I knew she couldn't stay silent, and she didn't. The next day, she posted a video soft lighting, barely there makeup. Her voice trembling as if she'd just cried. I know there have been misunderstandings lately. I never meant to exploit my sister. I just wanted to inspire. Anyone who's lived with someone battling depression knows you have to stay strong, even when you're exhausted. I watched the whole thing and felt sick. No apology, no ownership. Just another act this time, casting herself as the victim. I didn't comment, didn't stitch, didn't play her game. I kept editing. This time, I added screenshots of her texts to friends' messages where she bragged about beautiful shots, angles with just enough tragedy, and don't worry, she doesn't know a thing. I layered in her own voice from old memos, syncing the audio with her staged clips. The internet isn't stupid. Give them enough context, and they'll put the puzzle together. People who once praised Clara started asking questions. A major beauty influencer posted on Instagram I once reposted Clara's video with the caption, "Jack her sister goals. I've taken it down. I won't support anyone who builds a platform off their siblings' trauma." Then it spiraled. Online media began digging. BuzzFeed published a piece, TikTok healer accused of exploiting depressed sister to build personal brand. Clips surfaced on Twitter of Clara crying on a podcast while glancing at a visible script in her lap. A skincare brand she'd recently partnered with issued a statement cutting ties. "We do not support the unauthorized use of private experiences as content." Clara went silent. I wasn't happy. I wasn't vindicated. But for the first time, justice didn't feel like some abstract luxury reserved for louder voices. I turned on my camera. For the first time, I filmed myself face and all. No makeup, no background music, just one sentence, "I'm Lena." And this time, I'm telling my story myself. No filters, no edits, just a 22-year-old girl with eyes that had never seen so clearly. I posted the video at 9 p.m. San Diego time, before going to bed. I turned off all my notifications not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to preserve that moment. The moment I reclaimed my voice, with my real face, no filters, no hiding. The next morning, I checked my phone. Over 1.2 million views in under 12 hours, hundreds of thousands of comments. But it wasn't just empathy. People were with me. They were angry. They were seen. They began sharing their stories. My mom live-streamed me during a panic attack and said it was to raise awareness. I was 16. I was Lena. My best friend used me in a motivation video and ghosted me after. You're not alone. And for the first time, I don't feel alone either. I sat in silence and cried, but this time not from despair, from relief. All these years, I thought something was wrong with me, that I was too sensitive, that I was a burden. But no, I was just a person trying to reclaim the basic right to be a person. Then it got bigger. Major media platforms picked it up. Mashable ran an article titled Lena's Story When Privacy Becomes Content. CNN reached out for a Zoom interview. For the first time, I spoke to the press without fear. I didn't smear Clara. I told the truth, how the videos were staged, how I found out, why I stayed silent for so long. And then something I never expected happened. TikTok contacted me, not an auto-response, a real email. They'd launched an internal investigation into Clara's account. 3 days later, Clara Inspires was temporarily suspended for violating policies on non-consensual personal exploitation. She lost access. I didn't celebrate. I didn't want Clara destroyed. I just wanted her to stop, but Clara didn't stop. She pivoted to Instagram, posted a blurry story that read, "Some people think they're victims, but they're really the manipulators." The backlash brutal. The internet wasn't buying her act anymore. The more she tried to spin the narrative, the more people saw through her. Old posts resurfaced. Her once viral healing videos became memes. A TikTok user created an entire reaction series mocking the inspirational fraud saga of Clara. While she clawed to hold on to her influencer mask, I started getting messages from independent producers. One from Spotify said, "Your story isn't just powerful, it's a warning. It captures something that's happening on a much larger scale. We'd love to help you share more." I didn't say yes immediately. I thought hard about it. I didn't want to become what Clara became, turning pain into performance. But I also knew if I didn't continue telling my story, someone else would, and they'd get it wrong. So I made a decision I would start a podcast, not to talk about myself, but to give people like me a place. People whose stories had been hijacked, twisted, packaged into someone else's narrative. I named it Muted, for the voices that were never given a chance. In the first episode, I read a letter from a listener. My dad filmed me right after my first breakup. He posted it on Facebook with the caption, "My daughter is so strong." Everyone praised him for being a great father. I couldn't even look at him anymore. I paused, then said, "We've been silent for too long, but starting today, we speak. You don't need to be strong. Just be honest." Muted hit top 3 in Apple Podcasts' Mental Health and Society category in its first 2 weeks. I was invited to speak at universities. A professor from NYU asked me to guest lecture in their Ethics of Digital Storytelling class. Things started to shift. Not like some fairy tale rock bottom to top arc Clara once scripted for me. This was different. This was real. Because healing isn't always pretty, but it's honest. And in a world drowning in manicured, algorithm-friendly pain, honesty is exactly what people are craving. One night, I received an anonymous email. Subject line, "I'm sorry." It was from Clara. I didn't open it, not because I didn't care, but because I wasn't ready to forgive. Once, I had my voice taken from me. Now, I had it back, and this time, I was going to use it to make space for everyone who's never been allowed to speak. My name is Lena, and this story isn't over. But for the first time in my life, I'm the one holding the pen. If you've ever had someone close to you trim your story to make it fit a narrative that pleases the crowd, then you'll understand this every time you're asked to tell it again. You're not just speaking to be heard, you're speaking to reclaim authorship over every word that belongs to you. Muted was slowly becoming a strange little gathering place. It wasn't huge, it wasn't flashy, but every episode brought in someone new, someone with a story. A mother secretly filmed by her family during a postpartum rage spiral. A boy who was live-streamed by his sister while crying over a bad grade, then bullied at school. A dad exposed on TikTok as too conservative, just so his daughter could sell merch that read, "I'm not my father." We had a phrase for it now being narrated by someone else, and no one likes being narrated by someone else. Then something happened that changed everything. Early October, I received an email invitation from Mindframe Collective, a nonprofit focused on digital ethics and media justice. They were hosting a live stream series connecting content creators who've impacted mental health conversations online. The theme, who gets to tell the story? I hesitated. I'd never been on a live stream. My face was now recognizable. Yes, most of the public was on my side. But I knew Clara's defenders were still out there waiting for me to slip up, lose my temper, or crumble back into that fragile girl from the first video she ever posted. But I said yes. The live stream was scheduled for Friday night, airing on both YouTube and TikTok. I wore a soft gray turtleneck, tied my hair back, kept my face makeup-free. I wanted to show up as Lena, as I really am. Not a version curated to please an algorithm. We were mid-conversation, me and the host talking about Muted, talking about voice, when a message popped up from the producers. Someone's requesting to join the stream. Username Clara Speaks. I froze for a beat. The whole studio went quiet. I had the right to decline, but I'd said from the beginning I wouldn't hide. I nodded. The screen split. Clara appeared pale, eyeliner slightly smudged, hair neatly tucked back, but tension obvious in every line of her face. She spoke first. "I'm not here to defend myself. I just want to explain." The host looked at me, waiting for my cue. I looked at the screen. My heartbeat was still racing, but my hands weren't shaking. I said, "Fine, but this time, I'm not letting you tell my part." Clara nodded. I used to think, if a story was powerful enough, moving enough, it didn't matter if I had consent. I believed telling Lena's story would help others, but I never asked her if she wanted that. She paused, looked down. That was wrong, not because I lied, but because I didn't see Lena as a person. I saw her as material, and that's horrible. Part of me wanted to shout, "Then why didn't you apologize sooner? Why only now, after the internet turned on you?" But I didn't. I just looked at her. And I said, "You weren't wrong for telling. You were wrong for cutting, for inserting words I never said, for turning me into a symbol of something you never lived through. You don't need to apologize on camera. You just need to understand this was never your story to tell." Clara went quiet. The live stream chat exploded. I couldn't keep up, but I caught glimpses. Wow, this conversation is everything. I respect Lena more than ever. The stream ended without any dramatic close. No hugs, no tears, no background music swelling toward reconciliation. But it was one of the rare times I saw Clara stripped of her performance. No filters, no manipulation, just her. Right after, I received hundreds of new messages, but one stopped me in my tracks. An email from Joanna Cortez, producer of the Netflix docu-series Generation Exposed Lena. Your story and how you tell it speaks beyond social media. It's a reflection of our time when every camera turns someone into content, who's protecting the ones who never agreed to be filmed. She wanted to develop a 3-part documentary series. Title Stolen Stories. I didn't say yes right away. I let the email sit in my pending folder for 3 days. Then, one night, I got a voice message from an anonymous podcast listener. Lena, you have no idea. The episode where you talked about being secretly filmed made me take down every vlog I ever made of my sister during her breakdowns. I never realized I was the one telling it wrong. I cried, not from pride, but because I realized I wasn't just surviving, I was helping someone else stop before they made Clara's mistake. I opened the email to Netflix, typed just one condition: I agree, but only if every person featured says one clear sentence: I want to tell this story. No one gets narrated. I hit send, and for the first time, Clara commented on my newest TikTok video this time. You told it yourself, and you did it better than anyone ever could. I didn't reply, because some forgiveness doesn't need to be written. 2 months after the live stream, life didn't return to normal, but I wasn't the girl curled in a corner with hollow eyes anymore. Lena now lived a strange life, half in the glow of media, half in the shadows of memory. Muted had crossed 500,000 followers. Each episode, I read someone's story, sometimes a mother from Kansas, sometimes a college student from Detroit. Different voices, same thread. They had once lost control of their own narrative, and now they were taking it back. I received dozens of collaboration offers from nonprofits to indie production studios, but I was deliberate. I refused to become Lena the perfect victim or Lena the face of healing. I just wanted to be a real storyteller. Then something happened that I never saw coming. A group of UCLA seniors working on their final media ethics project chose Muted as their centerpiece. They built an interactive installation where visitors had to choose, would you rather be the narrator or the narrated? Only then would they feel the helplessness of having their story taken. I went to see the exhibit. It was a dark room lit only by flickering projections. I stood surrounded by voices, sobs, and raw audio of people confronting betrayal. As I turned to leave, a student walked up and slipped me a piece of paper. In handwriting, thank you for saying what I didn't dare say. I've kept that note in my wallet ever since. And Clara. She disappeared from social media for a while. No more videos, no more healing posts, no more sister goals. I heard she moved to Sacramento, got a job as a production assistant at a local media company. No spotlight, and I figured that was probably her hardest adjustment yet. One evening, I was editing a new podcast episode when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but then I heard her voice. Lena, it's me, Clara. Silence. I'm not calling for forgiveness. I just wanted to ask, would you let me come on your podcast? Not to defend myself, just to tell the truth. I didn't answer right away. 3 days later, I texted her back. You don't get to control the questions. I won't edit it to make you look good, and you have to be honest. She replied with one word, deal. The special episode aired on November 28th. We called it The Former Narrator. I opened as I always do, but my voice felt calmer than ever. Today, I won't tell my story. I'm letting someone who once told it wrong speak again. This time, no music, no flattering lights, just truth and accountability. Clara took a deep breath And then she spoke. For nearly 45 minutes, she didn't dodge. She admitted to scripting scenes, to timing my breakdowns for better lighting, to watching me suffer while thinking, "The lighting's off, maybe I should reshoot." And then she choked up. "It wasn't until you disappeared for 3 days, no one knew where you were, that I finally got it. You weren't acting, you were gone, and I couldn't tell anymore where the real ended and the real began." I said nothing. I didn't cry. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. Fully, no guiding questions, no emotional cues. That episode reached over 4 million listens in 10 days. But I didn't care about the number. I cared about one email I got afterward, from a 16-year-old girl named Ava Lena. "Today I told my mom, please stop filming me when I cry." And for the first time, she nodded. "I don't need likes. I just need to be myself." I sat in my apartment, looking out the window of my old San Diego building. The streetlight spilled warm gold onto the wall like soft brush strokes. I had come a long way from where I started, from a silenced victim to someone who tells the truth, not to win, but to create space for other voices to rise. Clara is still my sister, not someone I fully trust again, but at least she's stopped telling my story, and me, I finally get to tell it myself on my own terms.